What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make a desert style DIY reptile background just like this one. Alright, let's roll the tape. So first up, you're going to want to get some styrofoam. I got a styrofoam insulator kit from Home Depot. You can use any styrofoam though in general. And I'll be using it as the backbone of my structure. And then I begin cutting the length of it shorter so it can fit into my reptile enclosure. And then I stick it into the back of it. By putting it in the back, this will give my enclosure a little bit extra depth and layer, and then I'm gonna have to put a second one on top to fill it, and it won't fit just right, so I have to break it off in little pieces just to make it fit. Then I begin to grab my styrofoam and I keep breaking it into pieces, and then I start stacking them. And the reason why I'm stacking them is so I can make ledges out of it. And as I'm breaking off pieces, I keep making each layer on the stack smaller and smaller as it goes higher up. This will give the ledges some depth of field and look a little bit more naturalistic. I repeat this process multiple times till I have enough ledges for my enclosure. For this next step, I grab a pack of bamboo skewers, or you could use toothpicks for this method, but then I grab my bamboo skewers, poke them through my styrofoam ledges, and then I do this multiple times throughout my ledges. And then I cut the excess off, and the reason why I'm doing this is so my styrofoam ledges will stay in place. And then I place my ledges throughout my enclosure to kind of play around with it and get the idea of how I want it. And then I use Great Stuff expanding foam. I apply this all along the background and then all along the ledges. This stuff works really great if you're trying to make a background in a lot of closures, and then it'll hold everything in place, so it's really awesome to use. After that side cures out, I flip the enclosure over, then I begin on the other side, and I repeat the process and I put ledges over here as well. I then decided to apply expanding foam under my ledges too, so they don't look as flat and will just have a little bit more of a bumpy texture to it. And then I repeated the exact same process to the other side of the enclosure. And I wanted to show you this part that my ledges started separating on the gap. I guess I should put more toothpicks in, but I just wanted to point it out that it's easy to fix and you can just apply more foam to it. Then I used the knife and began carving the smooth surfaces of the expanding foam. I also used a wire brush wheel to make quick work of the edges. And I gotta say guys, it gets really messy and this part's tedious, so I usually like to get my headphones on and just jam out. Next up, I'll be using a Dremel tool. This tool is pretty sweet. It'll help me get in the tight areas, and then I'll be able to do a lot more carving. And this will allow me to get in the tight spaces and just a lot more finer detail to the carving, especially when it comes to the sharp edges right here on the ledges. I'm not trying to have those look flat. I want them to look a little more natural. Then once I'm done carving, I grab a shop vacuum and suck up all the dust, and you want to make sure you do a really cleanly job here. Next up, I'll be using Drylok Extreme, and they use this for concrete and masonry work, and it's a waterproofer. And it comes in standard white, but if you want to add color to it, you could just use cement liquid coloring, and I'm going to be using terracotta here to give it more of that desert-like feel. And all you have to do is just mix in the cement liquid coloring into your Drylok. And I'll totally admit, it was a little too red for me, so I mixed in some brown to give it more of that naturalistic look. And then I do a little bit of cheating and just pour a bunch all over the background here. And then I grab my paintbrush and start painting it all in. And in order for Drylok to work correctly, you want to do at least 2 coats. And between each coat, do at least 2 hours of curing in between. And I finished putting on my second coat of Drylok now, and it hasn't cured out, and I don't like how it's just plain red and just looks like straight clay. I wanted to bring it really to life here. So I decided to use washed play sand and throw it all over the wet coating, as this will give it that naturalistic texture and it'll stick as it cures out. And then this is how it looks after it cured out for a few hours. I was much more happy with the texture results of it, but there were still a lot of spots that I missed with the Drylok, and I just felt like there was something wrong with the coloring, so I decided that it needed some more dark shadowing between the cracks and stuff like that. So I decided to use black acrylic and paint it on in between the cracks. I then use clear enamel spray, and this will just work as a really good clear coating for all the work that I've done so far. It'll keep the sand in lock, it'll keep the Drylok from getting scratched up, and for every coating I gave it about 15 minutes to cure out. And then I also threw in more sand as it was drying out because I realized I needed more of that realistic texture still. And I used about a whole can. And this is my end result, and I'm so happy with the way it turned out. It just has more of that naturalistic, somewhat desert-like feel to it, and I just love how the texture of the sand came out, the shadow was in between the cracks. And I gotta say, it was a lot of work to get here, a lot of patience, but it just makes it that much more rewarding, and the fact that I know it'll last the lifetime of the enclosure, and my pets will really come to love this, and I can't wait for them to be climbing all along the ledges and just to be able to get so much naturalistic behaviors out of them. And in this hobby, building the habitat for my pets, it's literally half of the fun of it and watching them interact with it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And that's my tutorial on how to make a DIY reptile background. And if you guys got some value out of this, then please hit and smash that like and subscribe button down below. Then also, if you're interested in how I made the actual enclosure itself with the sliding doors and the electrical and everything, I'll leave a video link in the description down below. My name's Ryan, and you're watching Mighty Morphin Reptiles.